Probably easier for Matt to find his feet. He's closer to his feet than Andreas is.
No score.
But Mormis starts a double.
155.
Give him a great deal of confidence on the outer ring. He is coming back, however, for double top. And if there was a bright side in missing tops of 3 darts, Murph, it's that he's coming back for a primary
47.
target.
Might require 40.
Yeah, can afford to try and leave a marker, but that's not really one.
Game shot in the second.
Manages to find a way
Dennant.
in. You know he's not happy with the way he's playing from that reaction, but he'll certainly be happy with the scoreline.
Requires 72.
And might end up losing the first match in the worst possible way. It's double 12 for Matt Dennant to make a perfect start. Double 6. And Dennant does it.
Shot on the match.
Fabulous.
Matt Dennant.
Way to wrap up the match from Matt Dennant. It started slowly for him. It remained slow for Andreas Harrysson. And it's Dennant who picks up the opening win on Champions Week. A 4-0 success for the Sculler. A huge disparity.
The amount of times that we get questioned about things we say, it's inordinate.
Oh, well, you can't question what we're going to say about that because that is a bit of a disaster from Conan Whitehead. And he's basically opened the door and offered to usher Rob Grundy through it. A single 17 gives Grundy a go at tops.
77.
I fancied him for that one.
Require 40.
Because the treble in the single was so delightful.
Game shot.
He does lose the leg, and Whitehead does get that second bite of the cherry after missing the single.
Name one of them, but the likes of Bradley Roos, for example, making a couple of finals in the last 2 series. But this match is reaching its conclusion, and Rob Grundy has posed a question with that maximum, his first of it.
He's got a dart at the bull, but it's covered. He's got an angle.
51.
That 180 has changed this entire game.
36.
Grundy, who's hit double 18 already in the match, could win it in 13.
Well, that's how he started the match. It was a 13 darter. But he can't go out in 15. He doesn't even get 3 darts at double. Conan White survives, but after the little rattle he had in the previous leg, and he still seems a bit rattled. That's only just in. He knows it, and he's doing the right thing here. Just getting his composure. Double 4.
21.
Now both players have missed a couple of darts
to
seal the deal. Whitehead missing 3, 1 at the ball, 2 at the outer ring. Grundy's missed 2 at the outer ring himself.
It's a very different game to what we saw in game 1. And he's missed this time. So many noises coming from the stage, and they're all exasperated.
4.
Yeah, well, the nerves came at the start of that game, didn't they? They've come at the end of this one. Neither player can seem to find the winning double. But when it counts,
Conan Whitehead.
It's a barbarian that does it. He's won on that stage before. The Series 1 champion survives a little bit of a scare in his opening match. Both players missing multiple match darts, but it is Conan Whitehead with the win. And he can see there, a bit shaky, a bit nervy towards the end.
He's got that this week. There's no telling what he could achieve.
Well, Stevie's looking $1 million at the start of this one. Double 10. Oh, wowzers. What a start from Steve West. A 14 darter in the opening leg, followed by a 12 darter in the second. Well, West made a decision there to try and leave double 17 by staying on the treble 20. Białecki now may only leave the bull. A single 17 would do that. A treble would be better, but he's got neither. Chased the treble,
20.
Paid the price.
Stevie
Paul Nicholson's
62.
head is almost hitting the wall behind him.
Chase the treble. You've got to face the consequences. And the consequences are that West is way too good on this occasion. A high 90s average. And the doubling will give him a lot of confidence going into his second game, which will be against Rob Grundy in Game 6. These are the numbers for that game right there with a 4-1 victory. Steve West, 98.09. That won Group A that was involved in Champions Week. That was Graham Hall.
140.
He didn't win. Conan did. Just proving that Group A is not a guarantee of success. but it gives us a very good indication of what they're doing now.
Required 41.
Playing at this type of standard pretty much is a guarantee of success. Conan Whitehead
Game shot on the second leg.
has had the
Conan
most
Whitehead.
stunning start. But again, we talked about that average being 125 earlier. It's now down to 92.
I think the biggest thing here is that he hasn't had a dart at a double
Andreas required 40.
since he was 2-0 up.
Harrysson could lead 3-2 if he finds double 10, which he
Game
does.
shot on the fifth leg. Andreas
Harrysson has
Harrysson.
turned this tie around. So it's either a spectacular way for the Swede to seal his first Champions Week win, and that's not happening. Or we rely on Whitehead missing this.
Conan required 84.
Otherwise, it will be a last leg decider.
Yeah, this is enormous.
72.
He says, oh no.
Andreas required 36.
Andreas might be saying, oh yes.
Game
Winner
shot
chicken
on the
dinner
match.
for Andreas Harrysson. He
Harrysson.
loses the first 2 legs, but since that point, he went up a notch. And his doubles were excellent as well. He only got 1 shot at a double in his first game. In his second, he got 8. And he hit 4 of them as well with a very tidy performance in excess of 96 on the average. And Conan Whitehead has to settle for 2 points from his first 2 games. And between Core Decker and Mikuru Suzuki.
Game shot
That is a 3-1 lead for Dennant.
Matt Dennant.
And what's really encouraging for him here right now, and I've watched a lot of Matt Dennant in Super Series darts the last 2 years. He's looking to become the first player to 4 points.
Game
4
shot
points
on
it
the
is.
match.
2 wins it is for Matt Dennant,
Dennant,
who's only lost 1 leg in 2 matches so far. And he is making a strong start to Champions Week. Sebastian Białecki departs the stage, having lost 4-1 for the 2nd successive time. Not the start he would have hoped for, but you see why Dennant was so superior in that match. An average of almost 96, 50% checkout success rate. And
If you were 161.
Doesn't have to go for this. That's worked out pretty well. That's a gorgeous second dart, isn't it?
37.
It's very Luke Humphreys style, that dart, just bypassing a blocker shot and using the flight as a bumper. You have to be so gifted to be able to do that.
96. Stevie required 24.
He's left himself double 12 after 12. And that is the perfect guide for Steve West.
Game shot on the
Could
fourth
not
leg.
have missed.
Steve West.
Because he's averaging 95. It looks dominant. It feels dominant. And it is dominant.
Third leg. Andreas Harrysson.
All of a sudden. He hits this. He's going to be screaming like Christina. Wonderful display. Superb darts from the Swede in his 2nd and 3rd games, and a fabulous recovery after losing his first game by 4 legs to 0. He is very much in the fray, is Dirty Harrysson now, but Sebastian Białecki is off the stage and is still pointless after 3 games played. 94.97 with a 3-leg win and very tidy doubling, sees Andreas now at 3rd place in the table on the
40.
Arrow slinging from Steve
46.
West. Double top. Beautiful leg of darts.
Steve West.
He's out in 11 and he leads 3-1. He could have opted to try and leave an outer ring double and then not had to come back for just 2 at such a target. Steve West will have to make sure that he hits the required single number first here.
63.
Interesting call there from Conan. He didn't want to go for the 60. Double 8 for West for a 3rd consecutive win.
Game shot on
very
the match.
good once again.
Steve West.
Just proving that that mid-90s range is going to get you very far. As soon as he got that break of throw in leg 3, he did not look back. He ends up getting another to win that game by 4 legs to 1. The conflab continues on the stage between the referee and dearly love to get off the mark against one of the top dogs. What a great recovery from Dennant.
Required 66.
Will it trouble Grundy? How is he going to go back? for that double 18. That is the plan. And that
Game
is
shot
the
the
outcome.
second leg.
He's found it. I
Rob
assume that
Grundy.
wasn't a replay. Rob Grundy reacting again. Right, when are you going to stop saying wow? Because you're hitting it now.
Delegates Matt to require 106.
Another opportunity. It was 92 in the last leg to win 4-0. He didn't get a shot at a double then, but this time he does.
And he goes to that double 18, which he's hit twice already.
88.
But it's not there for him
Now you
when he
require
needs it
40.
to win a match. Remember, he's already missed a good handful of match darts today. Did it in his first match against Conan Whitehead. Can he
20.
finally
Robbie
cross the
require
line
18.
and turn a performance into a victory?
Nobody likes double 9. That's why. Small number, odd double, it can be awkward. Small numbered even double, however, does give him the victory.
On the match.
A first
Rob
victory of the day
Grundy.
for Rob Grundy, and that ensures that Steve West will top the table. He remains undefeated after 3 rounds of play. That's a first defeat for Matthew Dennant. First posturing to the camera of the day as well comes from the man from Hartlepool, and it's a I mentioned earlier that if Białowieski can get out of here with 4 points, he'll feel so much better. He's got to beat Whitehead and he's got to beat Grundy. Not easy, but 4 points and he's still in the race.
No choice about what double to throw. Just, you know what you've got, and you know how to hit it. And he has hit it, and he's hit Conan Whitehead hard. A 4-0 success for Sebastian Białowieski. Gets the Polish player his first points of Champions Week. He lost his first 3 fixtures, but in game 4, he gets a win that actually turns things around and puts Whitehead to the foot of the table. Such.
Well, we require 74.
Now, he can't afford to miss anything. Doesn't miss that. Can't miss this.
Game shot on the
and
6th
doesn't.
Rob Grundy.
It's 3-3. He didn't win.
Andreas, you require 40.
Looking at tops for a 13 darter, and now what kind of celebration will
Game shot on
he
the
give?
match.
Well, it is the
Andreas Harrysson.
expected, muted, modest way of celebrating a victory. A victory his opponent had already celebrated earlier in the match. A bizarre bout, but it's one that goes the way of Andreas Harrysson. Rob Grundy cannot double his win tally for the day, and Andreas Harrysson gets a hat-trick of wins. He's won 3 from 4 and is now hot on the heels of Steve West at the top.
This one is going the way of Dennant all of a sudden, and this would crumple up the table if he was to get it.
74.
Well, he looks likely to get it. Steve West has to find a treble to leave any kind of out here.
57. Matt, you require 40. Game shot on the 4th.
We know how good he is at doubles.
Matt
we
Dennant.
talked about his numbers from week 11. Over 43% for
Steve West might be. Will he? Dare he? Oh, he does. Steve West. A maximum to leave double
36.
1.
But the next door neighbour gives Dennant a chance for the match. And it's a match he wins. First defeat of the day for Steve West. In fact, his first defeat since the first game of Saturday night. And Dennant has got himself on 6 points alongside Harrysson and West now. A 4-point cushion between the top 3 and the bottom 3 after that very fascinating match.
Then you require
Let's give
20.
Sebastian a chance to break the throw.
Game
Wonderfully
shot on the
done.
3rd
16 darts is good enough for that break of throw.
Białowieski.
Rob Grundy is far from safety.
Starting on the 19s means he now needs to find a bedfellow. And I wonder as well, you know, for a player who blocks targets quite often, whether it's actually better to go for 2 different targets in that kind of
Yeah,
equation.
it's a good shout. You can see what he was trying to do there. He's trying to hit his own dart and skid it through to another 57. Just missed his mark.
Don't miss the big number. Did chase the treble, does get a go at the bull, can't
54.
find it. And that could be that.
Robbie requires 68.
Białowieski has been living too often in that low 80s range today, and he's been made to pay for it. He could be made to pay for it one more time. That was perilously close to a single 7, but it is a shot for the match at double 16. And it's the only one he needs. Rob Grundy will go to 4 points for the day, and Sebastian Białowski is going to have to settle for 2.
Treble, single, double rather than treble, single, bull.
It's progressive thinking. It's the way that younger dart players now are thinking.
82.
It's not 52. Wasting a dart. Double 16 for Conan.
Game shot on the
That's
second
fabulous.
leg.
A 2-0 lead.
Whitehead.
And a much better second leg from the first one. 6 points is more than acceptable.
Gets a go in this visit. Haven't seen many ton toppers today, but we see one from Dennant to win his last match of the day. A win that takes him top of the table, albeit temporarily. But Dennant has crossed the line for a 4-3 win to conquer Conan Whitehead, the Series 1 champion. Not the start he wanted. He sits at the foot of the field on just 2 points.
Those spoils will go to John Henderson. Speaking of spoils, leg 1.
72.
Is not Andreas's just yet.
154.
There's another subplot there, isn't there, that Daryl Pilgrim's in the other semi-final. Could be coming here on the back of a win. Steve West looking for another whopper and gets one.
Shot in the first leg.
Fabulous stuff from Steve West, who earlier today produced a 140, the only supersized checkout of the day until now.
Steve to throw first.
Now I've had alleviate nerves.
Well, this may have to go. Choices. Chooses treble 15 to leave double 18. Oh, what a finish that is with Steve West waiting on top for 3-0. Andreas Harrysson pulls out a 3-figure finish of his own. Missed that chance earlier in the match when he was trying to win the match. Double 10. 40. And he hasn't found it.
Andreas required 40.
So Andreas Harrysson can seal a big win. And does exactly that. Trailed 2-0. Could have easily trailed 3-0. But it's 4 legs on the bounce to make it 4 matches on the bounce for Andreas Harrysson. Steve West storms out of the stage there after a disappointing defeat. A couple of defeats at the end.
Indeed he does. Thank you very much, Chris. And Steve West, after what was such a promising start, there was a time where he really could have taken command of the group, but even though he's won 3 from 5, he's going to be bitterly disappointed in the end.
Yeah, I think he will. Knowing Steve as we do, I know that the start was perfect, and it did tail off at the end, but because of his experience in a group situation like this, he won't panic. He'll think, okay, I lost that game to Andreas at the end. I'll get him back first thing tomorrow, and then they will be on an even keel of 8 points at that point. So on Monday, you've got to be in the mix. He's still in the mix, but Andreas and Matt are just a little bit ahead of him at this stage.
This is what happened then on day 1 at Champions Week. These are the results. 15 games have been and gone here at the Live Lounge in Portsmouth, and it is a bit of an even split at the top of the table, as you can see through those results. But let's talk about the good of Steve West today, because he came out the tracks flying, and you actually look at the overall numbers, he probably put in the best stuff.
I'd have to say so. I think the 180s were there, the doubles were there earlier on, and if you look at some of his big smiles at some of the performances that he put in, his explosiveness is really close. Now, he knows that even if he doesn't get through Group A, that the ability to win 3 straight games like he did at the start of this group is something that he might need to do more than once. So if I was to give him any sort of feedback about Monday, it would be something you did at the start of today is something that if you replicate it later in the week, it might be good enough to take away the check.
And he played in such a relaxed manner, especially at the start of the day. I don't think I've ever seen, on a stage environment at least, Steve West look that relaxed, that at home.
I think this is one of his homes in darts at the minute. He loves coming back here, but he really, really wants to win this week. And I think he might have had some advice from some of the people that are close to him. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Let your natural game sing. At times it did today. And just because it didn't at the end doesn't mean he's not going to challenge for the next couple of days.
Most certainly right. Elsewhere, Matt Dennant is the player at the top of the pile, having won 4 from 5. And maybe he's one of those players that went under the radar a little bit this week, but shouldn't have because of what he's done here before.
I'm not going to let him go under the radar. We got stats for him this morning from his Week 11 win. not so much about what he did on Saturday, but what he did overall. Averaging over 91 for the week, and if he was somebody else, would be lauding that. But his doubles were over 43% as well. I'm not going to let him go under the radar. And now that he is top of the table going into Tuesday, it's an impossibility. He is firmly on the radar.
Let's talk about Sebastian Bielsa, because an interesting day as far as he's concerned. He ran into a couple of really good performances off the bat and then beats the former champion Conan Whitehead 4-0.
Very frustrating day for Sebastian, but if you look at him historically here, he's got a really good record of making Saturdays. Obviously, this is his first Champions Week, but he always tends to find his best towards the end of a schedule, daily and weekly. So maybe Group A might be too much for him this week, but don't discount him when it comes to Group C or B.
Now, in darts, we say it's not over until it's over, but for Rob Grundy, he suffered one of those moments that no professional ever wants to see, thinking that he'd won the match against Andreas Harrysson, and, well, obviously he went 3-3 to a last leg and ultimately lost that game. What is that like? If you've been in that position in your professional career, what is that position like?
I'm quite fortunate to say that I've never been in that position, but sometimes you get so lost in a game environment that you think, this is the shot. I just need to get this shot. You might even be looking at your opponent's number. He might have seen the 3 and thought it was his. It wasn't. It just so happens that he lost the match as well, and it turns out by losing that last leg and Harrysson getting those points, that's one of the reasons why he's on 8 and the other one's on 4.
Yeah, let's have a look at the table then following the first day's play. And as you can see, Andreas Harrysson joins Matt Dennant at the top of the table on 8 points. And that was after, it has to be said, a very slow start.
Very. I mean, you think about the lowest performance of the day. It came from Andreas in game 1. And after that, he turned into a very different beast. The difference between game 1 and game 2 was fantastic for him because it was a hiking of performance by about 20%. And that's not the kind of percentage that we talk about when we come to improvement. So well done. He fixed whatever went wrong in the first game. And from then on, he was a very different competitor.
Most certainly. Well, day 1 is done and dusted here at the Super Series at Champions Week.